Yes.
All right, hello and welcome. Today is Tuesday, October 15th. Welcome to a meeting of the Darien Architectural Review Board. My name is Elizabeth Geiger. I am chairman of the board. With us tonight we have members Mr. Riley, Mrs. Hart, Mrs. Green, Mrs. Ms. Poselli, Mrs. Lopolinsky. This is the hardest part of my meeting. You think I do not know all our board members here, just when it comes at once. And Mrs. Janice, and we also have Mr. Brown. We're going to do a little shifting of the agenda tonight and start with new business first and then go back into old business for time management. So starting tonight we have ARB number 30, 2024, which is Seven Sedgwick LLC. So welcome, please introduce yourself and your role. You can talk to us, you don't have to look over there. That thing actually should probably be reoriented, but don't worry about that.
So, hi everybody, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our plea for temporary fencing. I'm Kate Bates and I represent the developer at 7 Sedgwick, which we have now renamed 1 Sedgwick. And we are coming to you guys with our application ultimately to get your agreement on putting temporary fencing up around the construction site. So I could read this.
You don't have to read it, we'll save time.
Okay.
The board does their homework.
Okay.
So you can go into,
So
when Hervé closes that door, he will pull up the images.
yes, so anyhow, we've decided, the developer contacted me, I've been in real estate here for 18 years. He was going to rent the units, there are 18 units, and we both decided let's sell them. Let's make them condos, and so we're
Hervé,
going.
can you pull up the images while she's talking?
Yeah, sure, and this has all been approved by the ARB, who had a big part in making sure it looked beautiful, the landscaping was beautiful, all this, but ultimately, for being in business for a long time, the building construction can be really unattractive and a blight, for sure, for the next 24 months.
So what's the proposal for time management of how long you want this up for?
Yeah, so we can get it up as early as next week if anybody's gone by. This is the Rotary in front, yeah, so it's not great for the businesses that are there. There are restaurants, there are, special areas, there's a market, and everyone's going to see an ugly blight of construction for a pretty long time. I mean, we think 18 months, it's not gonna be 18 months, it'll be longer than that. So out of our pocket, we planned like more of a New York, very cool, black mesh, completely covered fencing, which we don't really, you guys don't have like on the application, so we kind of had to fudge things a bit, because this is just temporary fencing. So these are the beginning mock-ups of what we would have. So it would be completely covered with black mesh, and then it would have these gorgeous pictures that have been approved by the ARB of the site, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's going to be luxury units, 1,000 square feet each, indoor, outdoor, and lots of landscaping. So we thought, we get a lot of questions, we're getting a lot of questions, even when I'm at the site, people are asking, what's going on there, what's happening, nobody knows. So everybody really needs to understand what's happening. All those phone calls can be directed easily to us. We want it to be minimalist, sleek, cool, neat, and something nice for people to pass by on that Rotary, all day long.
Okay, let's start with the numbers here. I see 8 across times, is that 7 down? My eyes are bad tonight.
1, 2,
Yeah,
3.
7.
So 56?
Yeah, 7. So these are all mock-ups, but it's 500 feet around.
The perimeter's
Yes.
500 feet, so this has got to
So
be
it's-
much.
672.
Okay, so
yeah.
there's more here than what's going up.
Yes, so this was us just mocking up, so you guys had more rather than less to say yes, no. We didn't want it to maybe be too busy. If you've looked at like Heights Crossing, they only have like one, you can see everything. And nobody wants to see everything because it becomes a blight. And it's going to be there in a deep construction for 18 to 24 months. So for us, we thought, since we're putting luxury condos up, let's make the beginning beautiful, so that people, when they drive by, can say, ooh, maybe I wanna live there, or ooh, maybe it's not so ugly and I hate going to dinner, you know, in this area because of it.
Can you pull up one of the originals, just one of the closer images for us? Like I think it's another
I think
link.
it's the detail.
There's another link too.
Yes, there is,
This-
and they're all pictures of all of the ARB approved, and I think you guys really collaborated on what should be there.
The KKB detail is up a couple more today.
So I think
There-
the
That's
precedent here is what we looked at on the Corbin district as far as how that was established. I think we elected to reduce the amount of verbiage, if I'm correct, from, they have the Corbin, and reduce that down and relied more on images. So seeing that, like, coming soon, one Sedgwick Loft, one of a kind, high-end luxury condominium, how often should that be? Is that too much, or is just one Sedgwick Loft
You mean on the
enough?
repeat?
Yes,
Yeah, got it.
yeah.
In the past, it just, we've never not phone numbers, emails, any detailed copy description, that's a signage rule across the board, so that's what you're alluding to, right, Dave?
Yeah,
And the
yeah, it's like,
repeat copy
because this
general.
is signage essentially, correct?
Right,
Well, there is
Like-
actually, the precedent was set with Corbin where there was information, as well as at Heights Crossing, they have a huge banner that doesn't even fit on the fencing, it's not, and it says, call for more information, go here for more information.
we're aware of that, if it is, that's something we'll have
It's
to
right
find.
across from the train station.
Okay,
Yeah.
We don't
I
have
haven't
a
seen it,
picture of
and,
it,
it
and
it didn't raise a red flag, but now that you mention it.
Well,
yeah.
it's not aesthetically pleasing, nothing against Heights Crossing, because it's amazing, but it
Well, you just
isn't, it wasn't thoughtfully done,
we'll look at that one.
yeah.
But the
So you
Corbin
can, I can
one,
take a picture and send it to you.
the Corbin one though,
It doesn't
it
have.
doesn't, phone numbers or
have
any
anything.
details, it just says Corbin district.
So I work across the street from the part that they didn't do, it's all blue, and I've been working across the street from it for 2 years, a construction site. And it isn't aesthetically pleasing for us at all to look at, or any of the stores like Rosie's and all of them were across from blue, kind of just pulled together, tied together, and it doesn't look great at all for all the people shopping there. And there has been like Papa John or whomever puts these big, call us for this or that, and yes, and I have pictures that I can send to you. This would be like working to look beautiful, and
No,
we don't need a
we're not
ton of
questioning that,
signage.
my
Yeah.
point is the repetition of the language on the panels, that was something, and again, I think we just need to verify what is allowed in terms of temporary signage, our phone numbers, our descriptions, because we did on the Corbin where it is along Route 1, we limited that to just a few panels where it says just Corbin districts, not, phone numbers, not websites, not, super duper development coming your way. So I think just one Sedgwick Lofts is enough that it will at least be informative, the images are informative, and beyond that, I don't see the reason for having everything else. You're gonna be having an advertising blitz, I'm sure, in order to generate the business. This is kind of jumping on that a little early. If it's allowed, fine, but my question is.
So the banners that are allowed are 32 square feet, typically 4 by 8, is the banner that goes up without a permit, but it's also a temporary banner that is only allowed for a very limited amount of days. So this board has the leeway of extending and adapting this, but if you were looking at just the as of right banner, which we'll check the Heights Crossing, but I'm sure it's already past the temporary amount of time. But there is some provision in the code for events, for banners and 32 square foot of announcement, but then it's supposed to disappear. So these are very special cases in town. These large construction sites have something that's not really written in the code, which is why the board is making those decisions in relationship to those special cases, right?
Well, yes, we didn't really have any direction because you don't have anything in the ARB for temporary signage. There's nothing. So
There
we
is-
just kind of went for it, like.
There is a temporary
we're-
signage
There is,
thing in there,
there's
but
a whole
it's,
section about temporary, about permitting without permits. That's in section 930 of the code. I should have brought my code, but I didn't. But it is a specific section for temporary signage and the limits of size and how many you can have and all that. But again, it has to do with the amount of days it's on, which these construction site for 18 months to 2 years is just way different. It's a totally different thing.
It
So
is.
these are construction fences, so the construction fence is typically ugly, green, you know, not interesting. Then these become banners, or they also becoming advertising. Are they in an advertising, which is the case, you know, when you start selling something, that's also regulated in terms of the amount you can advertise. I mean, the repetition of this is becoming, this is where we need to negotiate. I guess.
Which is wonderful, which is why we're here. Like, we went, you know, we're happy to modify, but we do need an informative direction for people who want to know who to reach out to, because we are going to pre-sell all 18 units. So if we're pre-selling them and people in our town want them, or they want them for their family, they need to know who to reach out to, otherwise they're reaching out to town hall.
So the architects on the board, and correct me if I'm wrong, but typically on these big projects, you guys probably had that one rendering with the architect's name, the number to call, and that's a panel that's meant to stay there during construction and people can look at, but it's not all over a
Yeah,
construction
it's
fence.
it's one panel typically.
Right, so
with-
it's
Yeah, I
typically
mean,
one time.
If it's one panel, I don't have a problem with
Right.
that.
And I think that's where you led with, what you led with,
Yeah,
and I'm in agreement.
Okay.
You don't need to have it 15 times.
I think the rendering.
Well,
Right,
and you
it's
see,
how you
that
generate
they're
it.
all different pictures. So what we were trying to thoughtfully do was show you on the south side, the north side, the east side, the west side, what the view would be
Kate, I
with the
think they're in
picture.
agreement with you.
Oh, I
The
don't know.
views- The
Yeah.
views are correct.
Yes,
It's the-
okay.
It's all of the coming soon when Sedgwick Loft, please call us and we'll let you know how much the expensive, you know, how
Yes,
expensive
so
the
just
units
one
are.
of those.
So
Okay,
those-
I think this will be easier. 1/4 word panel, 3 times the amount of images. So 3/4 images, one word panel.
Perfect.
That's, I mean,
Right, and you
a
could have
one perhaps,
One
right?
informative,
Right.
one informative per
But
side.
we want more
One
images
information per
Yes.
than
side.
words.
And we just kind of put this together for, you know, and we were
That's
hoping
fine, that's
to get
great.
this feedback.
so I think Kate, to come with a new proposal, I think the copy you're gonna need, maybe the coming soon's okay, but the one of a kind, high-end luxury condominiums, please
Yeah.
take off. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think that's gonna fly, I think that's gonna be a joke, yeah. The other thing is your copy, I know that's your contact information, the Kate Bates thing. So it sounds like one panel though somewhere, but that size is gonna be too large, right? Cause
Yeah.
that panel is
Giant.
giant.
Yeah.
So our normal copy, so we're treating it as a sign, so if it's a
Mhm.
normal sign, we would allow the maximum copy height would be
25
12,
26
26
inches, yeah.
on street view, I thought that's back, not on a street, on a pedestrian facing street.
Again, where's my code? But-
Yeah, we need to check that, Kate, but it's
Yeah,
something,
that's fine.
No,
I don't think it's 24, I think maybe max 18, cause it's along the street right there, you're not set back like Stop and Shop. And then what we would need to is a mock-up that shows it around, so like where, I mean, cause this looks pretty, this looks nice, like she said, we're all in agreement this would be a better layout, but just show us how it's really gonna come together, instead of like, lay out that 500 feet, where those, like, do the math, do the panels and say, okay, this is along, Sedgwick,
Sedgwick.
this one's all Oakey's Highway, this is along the Rotary,
Mhm.
give us that layout, show us where your contact panel is,
Okay.
and update the copy, and that could actually be, instead of coming back, it could be an administrative approval. We just need to
I
work
can
with her
send you
today.
the maximum size of the letters so that we
Perfect.
can confirm.
Ultimately,
I
if you send me what you want, I can send it to Dave and he will put it together. We just had no idea what we should put together, so we just want it to look nice and clean
Okay.
and,
So that's cool, like,
Okay.
we're all,
Yeah,
I think we're
totally
all on the
fine.
same page to go, just
Yeah.
some changes.
yeah.
And then I have a hard time, I can't see your copy of all the stuff that you have for your advertising. Can we blow
So-
that up before, so make sure, but we're all okay on that, we might need to do.
I can also do a QR code, but that is tough on mesh.
Pull up, what does
That's
it say,
easier.
Kate Bell, like,
It just
can you
says
get any, you
at
can,
Compass and my phone number. To learn more, please contact.
Comments, anyone?
Are
Are you
they-
guys okay with all that copy? Does anyone need
Yeah,
to?
wait, hang on, are they gonna do a board with the architect on it?
Not if
mean,
you're gonna
in
do
all
all
of
that.
them?
No, I would not. I would say keep it simple, don't add more contact info.
Yeah.
It's either gonna be your contact info or the architect's contact info or the contractor's.
Yeah, no,
contact
the
info.
architect is not interested in it as the builder, so it would all be to me.
I would say for more info, please contact.
Wouldn't even put that,
Nate.
just leave the telephone number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they all get it.
Telephone number.
And honestly, if you didn't have anything on there, they would Google one Sedgwick.
Exactly, and they find you.
It's really not that hard anymore.
So you're saying remove all copy, just your logo, your company name and contact and phone number?
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Kate, are you okay with that? Your logo, your company name and your contact number?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, people will understand that. And then, did you want us to remove the coming soon?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
So,
obvious.
so then,
It's
just to be
very
clear,
obvious.
it'll
It's
be,
fairly obvious.
we will, everything will be clean and black, and then we will do the pictures of what's coming on maybe 4 sides, and then 1 contact. Which would be that, without, to learn more, please contact.
Perfect, yeah.
That's fine.
And then the one is just one Sedgwick Lofts on the other one, right? You're keeping that, or you're moving that?
I'm fine with that, if you guys
Yeah,
are,
keep
just
it
not
Sedgwick
coming soon.
That's
Lofts.
okay,
Yeah.
just not coming soon, or the one of a kind.
Okay,
All that
so
stuff,
just one
Sedgwick
Sedgwick
Lofts,
Loft.
you can name it, yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. Is there a way we can at least let people know that it's condominiums and not rentals? Because that's the question I get a ton.
But that's a good question, don't you want people to call you?
Yeah,
Because then you got them on the
do you wanna
phone, girl,
answer that?
you got a hook.
It's a
I
lot
think
of
you
calls. Yes, yeah, that's fine. It's up to you guys. It's-
I think given that your name and numbers, or your logo number is gonna be there, it's usually not for rental.
Okay. Sounds good. We have a lot of rentals coming on, so we need some condos. That's why we're doing it this way. And
Yeah,
if
that's
anybody after wants to see some interior pictures, let me know. But thank you.
That's cool,
Yep,
okay, that's great,
we'll
Kate, good job.
modify. Thank you, everybody.
So, work with Hervé, get those dimensions of the copy
Yeah, we'll
height.
communicate.
Yeah, you can email
Because that will apply to one Sedgwick Lofts as well, the maximum height there. You're good, you can say, you're good.
Great.
Just bow or curtsy.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Oh, gosh,
I really like the gravel
All
stone.
Yeah.
wrapped up, sorry.
I'm sorry,
You
I really like the gravel stone there now.
simple, got a lot of texture to it.
That used to be in see-through.
Yeah.
All right, next up on the agenda, I'm sorry about that. We're gonna stick with new business. Sorry. Where we at? I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Next up, we've got ARB number 31, 2024. It's at 134 Heights Road for Magnolia Clothing. Hello and welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Collin from Gotham Signs and Graphics. Here to discuss the proposed sign for Magnolia, which is a coming soon clothing store in Darien Commons.
This one?
I believe, yes. Yeah, here's just a quick look at what the storefront looks like now. I believe it's one of the only vacant storefronts there, but so basically what we want is a push-through acrylic sign, which would go right over the doorway, which would kind of be consistent with a lot of the other stores, several of which have push-through acrylic signs, which is basically a 3-inch deep aluminum cabinet, and then the letters and the logo are routed out of the face, and then translucent white acrylic is pushed through, and then it's illuminated from the inside. So you get light coming out of the face and sides of the letters, and in this case around the border. Yeah, so it would nest in nicely right over the door. I believe it's about 76 inches across approximately, and the sign would be 13, 14.
Through the sign?
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Light through the sign.
We've done that, we've done the hate, yeah.
We don't do that.
But not
Oh.
the letter itself illuminating. but
So-
you can do a halo lit.
Good.
The whole face of the sign does not light up, only the letters.
Yeah, and that's what we, like,
Right.
remember solid core?
Right, thank you for that reminder.
So it's always backlit or halo lit, no direct lit from the letters on.
Got it. Okay, so the letter of the magnolia would have to be opaque white with just a border of it.
So the edge could
The edge could
illuminate.
light.
Yeah, so if you, there's a supporting document which has neighboring properties, and well, okay. Subsequent to this sign, they want to do a blade sign as well,
Okay,
but.
so,
But if you go back to where the attachments were,
here's
In the application.
in the application, we have a picture of a store right next door, which has the style of sign that we're discussing here.
supporting information.
No, that's the one the one right below that, actually. Neighboring properties, that one right there.
You're doing a good job, Hervé. I know this stresses you out.
Thank you.
That's not easy because it doesn't always
Yeah.
say.
So, La Source is an identical construction, different name, but it's the same thing. So basically, the body, the whole cabinet is aluminum, so the light only comes through the letters.
It does.
Yes.
I wonder if, interesting. I know, we have to look at that. I wonder if we approved that because it was black letters? And it wasn't,
And it looked like it was gonna just glow. in the
it was just gonna
edge.
glow, yeah. I feel like, yeah.
So I have a picture of it at night on my phone, unfortunately, not in this,
Oh, cool, that's
Pass it
good.
around.
That's good.
here.
I was there the other night too,
Yeah,
Yeah.
here.
looking at it.
Then it
And you
must
didn't
be
notice?
subtle.
No, because everything looked good.
Huh.
And there's another one,
I don't mind.
No, but that's lit around the perimeter. So the actual
Okay,
face
so-
of the letter,
oh, so they put vinyl, it looks
yeah,
like they put some,
but that's the
Vinyl
halo.
on the front of the letter.
Yeah, so that's the halo lit that we're
oh, I see, okay.
discussing. If
But I think,
anybody
oh,
else-
sorry,
Yeah,
here,
pass the
here,
logo,
take-
I wanna see.
Sure. Let me check, I think there's another one, because there's a tea place 2 doors down, which I think has a macchiato,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's the question.
Yeah, because I think we had,
Oh, yeah, look at
I
that.
remember Sweet Green tried to do that. We
Yeah,
went
that's-
back and nipped them.
That's
Yeah.
that's the look we want,
Yeah.
lit, when it's lit.
Can you
Yeah.
show Hervé too?
But the
Yeah.
actual face of the letter is,
Is a,
It's a dark.
Is opaque.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes,
so
the
that's
face of
edge
the
lit,
letter's
yeah,
okay.
that's an
Okay.
edge lit
Edge-lit.
thing.
I see what you're saying, okay,
So
okay.
the letter comes in filigree or whatever you wanna call it.
I see,
It's
okay.
because there's a thickness to the letter which you can't see in the daytime, but then there's a light, like a little strip of LED, whatever it is, along.
well, it's backlit, but the
Right.
letters are protruding
Right.
about a quarter
Yeah,
inch.
so
That's very
Acrylic is
feasible with
what's
your
going.
style and
Yeah,
it would work.
Our style is identical with the exception of, we don't have vinyl on the face of the letters, which,
so you could just put a white vinyl on the, if it's
yeah,
still
we
white
could put an
vinyl.
opaque white vinyl and,
Okay.
So that's
And-
just
and-
the edge glows.
so just the edge glows, yeah, we
Okay.
could certainly do that, sure.
Hervé, do you need to see a new file that notes that for
Well,
the
I'd like
records?
to see,
But Dave,
in order
that
for,
letter on the other one's protruding out. It's not
well,
flush.
right now it's cut out.
Correct, yeah.
That's
It's
not
got
good.
about a
What
quarter
he's
inch
showing is cut
parameters.
out, so he would have to revise this and show
Right,
us a
correct.
section
Correct.
in the detail section showing where the letter sits, what you have on the side.
Yeah, the letter,
And a specification that says how you're building it, so that you can be committed to building it exactly the way you're sending us.
oh, well,
Right?
okay,
See what I'm
fair,
saying?
yes, yeah, no,
It's
understood.
like a binding approved drawing that just makes you get a building permit.
Understood.
Not, this won't get the building permit, because it right now shows a cutout, which is not approved.
Okay, so,
Correct?
Yeah, this is
What's your
flush,
question,
we don't
Brian?
want flush.
well, can it be approved on a condition that there's vinyl on the face of the letters? So we can commence the production of the sign, because she wants to open soon.
You can get an administrative approval.
Okay.
So you don't have to come back to a meeting. But what Hervé's saying is you need to send a new PDF in.
Oh, I understand,
That
yeah.
shows the side, that shows the.
Like a cross-section.
The cross-section.
Okay, yeah, no,
And
but-
then,
of
and then
course.
also notes in
One
here,
side, yeah.
white will be in opaque covers, side lit, halo lit.
Of course.
That's it, so new PDF to Hervé,
Yeah.
and then he can get you an official administrative approval, so then you can keep going with your,
Perfect, thank you,
So-
thank you.
And just to note, make sure that the lighting Kelvin matches everything else that's going on over there.
oh, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
Do we know what, gosh,
Five,
Mostly
3,000,
3,000.
3,000.
We should check on that.
Should
It
we?
seems like it's
It's gone up.
gone up, perhaps.
Just thinking.
Use 3,000 in residential, but
Yeah,
I think on
it's
commercial, maybe you know better, it's like 4 or 5. It varies, I know,
I mean, we use 3,000
okay,
commercial stuff.
okay,
It's a softer.
I agree, yeah.
and it's,
Those are pretty thin, so they're not gonna be like solid core weight.
I like the blade sign,
Yeah,
I do
let's
too.
talk about the
Yeah,
blade
very
sign.
nice.
okay, oh yes, and,
well
yeah,
sized.
Yeah.
Proportional.
yeah, and that's the logo. So it's good, so it's gonna be white and, yeah, just like that.
Okay, that works.
everybody sounds cool. Okay,
Okay.
so you will have administrative approval, just get a new PDF to Hervé, marking those changes, those little upgrades,
Okay, great,
and that's it.
all right, thank you very much.
All right, thanks for coming.
All right, thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, it shows ARB number 32. That's been moved to our November agenda. So we are skipping down to ARB number 33, 2024. And that is 975 Boston Post Road, which is Antonio's Restaurant. And they're proposing siding for a pergola.
This doesn't look like a site.
I think it might be,
It's a tent.
it says siding for pergola, I think basically they're proposing, yeah, a tent. An outdoor, but a permanent
Oh.
tent,
Okay,
one that will be there 365 days of the year.
Yeah.
So they're not distracted.
My name is Ashley Andrews, and I am representing Antonio's Italian Bistro. They want to build like a covering for the outdoor seating for the colder months. That's the material they're covering it with. And it's remaining the 16 seats that are currently there.
So just in terms of regulatory for this, 16 seats, outdoor dining is the allowed number by the governor decree that the outdoors, overflow dining from COVID is still alive, and that's the zone that they've used in the back to put their outdoor dining. To make the outdoor dining more, a longer use, 3 season, not 4, but 3 season, they need this fabric covering. So it's fabric, it's somewhat semi-permanent because it's there for 3/4 of the year, pretty much. From like as soon as it gets warm enough in April or March, and then until the end of November or December. So that's why looking at this has some sort of a permanence type thing.
so it would be up throughout the summer and then it would be air
Yes.
conditioned or something on
Yes.
the interior?
Well, in the summer, it provides the shade that they need. I don't know about in
But it
the
would
conditioning,
would it
but
just be the roof in the summer and take the side panels down?
Maybe, I don't know. These may be plastic covered like in the city, and then, for the wind, you just close the plastic. There is a lot of, I don't wanna say unknown, but things that maybe you can explain in terms of functioning of this.
Well, because Ashley, I also, Anthony called me and had me come look at this site, and I told him that this presentation as is did not have anywhere near the detailing the ARB needs to see to review this project, but he said, you guys are gonna come instead so that you could get feedback directly from us, instead of like doing a full mock-up and everything, kind of hear what we had to say before moving forward, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was, are you,
With Custom Sign Solutions.
custom site, yeah, okay.
So
Are
is
you gonna
there,
fabricate this?
Not me, no.
No, but I mean, your company is gonna make the fabric awning, or are you just representing Antonio?
I I'm really not sure, honestly. I didn't get much information either.
Does your company do tents?
He does signs, I don't know if he does tents, I have no idea.
Do they think they're gonna print some signage on it?
No, it's just
Okay.
gonna be the black.
Or the beige.
There is, more detailed pictures
I
of
think-
how it's gonna be attached and stuff. It's in that plan set.
Yeah, I
If you
think this
scroll down.
needs to be just a prepared design with an understanding of
No,
what
that
the-
one, the bottom one.
what the
That's
plan
the one I
is.
had open.
This is not
Yeah.
enough
That's the
to
one I
even give you
opened.
feedback.
Do you-
I mean, I'll give you
You'll
feedback.
see that.
Yeah, once we,
Just-
It's
That's the
not
one
gonna
that
work.
has-
It's
Yes.
This is it.
And the material is,
Yeah.
not substantial.
That's this.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
okay,
that's
Looking at
this,
that.
okay. Well, that's the context.
so the board, are you guys saying that would you guys be in favor of this if it was done properly? Or are you guys just saying a full tent here is not something that is ever gonna work in this
I'm just
situation?
concerned about precedent,
Yeah.
because there's
Yes,
a lot of other places
exactly.
with outdoor seating, and who's to say these don't start popping up on like sidewalks and stuff.
Yeah.
Right,
Fire heaters,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's gonna be it. In better shape, but that's a structural thing.
Okay.
They can do better work
I
on.
mean, if the business case is to get more seats in the restaurant.
And building an addition.
well, yeah, how many seats are in the regular restaurant, and how, you know, is this doubling the size, does anybody know?
No, it's not.
I don't think so.
I'm not in favor of it.
I'm not either,
Me neither.
Okay.
not at all.
I think, yeah, we went through the whole process with the pergola and the seating in the back. So,
Which looks nice and has
Yeah.
some charm.
Yes.
I mean, if there was like just a temporary cover on top, but that's more for rain or something, but
And you can manage that with panels that,
Yeah,
you
a
know, retract.
retractable-
Yeah,
that might be kind of a halfway solution. But yeah, this is so much of
it's a structure.
a structure.
It is
Yeah,
a structure, it
yeah.
had a structural frame.
Yeah,
And with this black plastic covering it, I think is just not gonna fly.
No, that looks very serious and very,
I did also meet with
Unwelcoming.
Antonio's as well, and I mentioned to him that architecturally speaking, to have a covered tent on top of what used to be a pergola is not exactly
Right.
the way to go about it, because you have openings and gaps and stuff, and it doesn't look like one belongs with the other.
well, you're just slapping it on top.
So he said that he wanted to get some feedback and get a sense of what.
Okay. So, sounds like you heard it here. Unfavorable report, sounds like it's not gonna fly at all. If anything, the board would entertain something more of a temporary structure. Retractable awning, as
Yeah,
mentioned, or,
retractable awning that sort of sits under the pergola, but you
okay.
want shade.
And if Antonio or landlord wants to propose that, they'd have to come with a presentation that's fully fleshed out, that shows how that meets with the actual structure, and not something that's more of a rudimentary sketch. But thank you, it's a fantastic restaurant.
love the
I went,
restaurant.
it is great, I'm glad it's here. Okay, thank you for your time, Ashley. All right, so we're now on to our last item of the night, which is back to old business, ARB 27-2024, 1 Thorndale Circle. This is a large, all-new development project of apartments. We saw last month,
Yep, questions in front.
we asked the client to kind of go back and do a redo and rethink the whole project in a lot of ways. So,
Is it in?
Yes, it is.
here we are again. Gentlemen, it is 7:34. I'm gonna try to put a 30-minute cap on this. So I'm gonna give you a 15-minute way, halfway in, to where I think we should open up, we should
You want to check?
stop questions, stop from your side and go to our side of questions, and maybe even sooner than that. Because I think it'd be better if it's a dialogue
Yeah,
versus a presentation.
and we will move quickly, but as you said, and thanks everyone, Jay Klein of Carmody Law for the applicants. You all gave us a lot of feedback last time, and I think, not only did Trammell Crow hear that feedback, they listened to it, and we've spent the better part of the past couple weeks putting your, incorporating your thoughts and your ideas into the plan that we're proposing for Thorndale Circle. We had not just architects and engineers, but really entire firms working on generating these, not just revisions, but complete redos as quickly as we could to make this meeting. And we're really excited about what we've done. I think the biggest changes that we've proposed are all the feedback that you gave us, to boil it down into some headlines. I think creating more senses of place, especially between the multiple buildings on the property, taking advantage of some of the natural resources that we have on the property, breaking down Building B as it was originally envisioned and brought to you all a couple of months ago, and really making sure we captured some more of the New England or Darien residential architecture that you folks are all accustomed to. So, I don't know if there's a problem with the PowerPoint, but we've got Federico Soffier from KTGY, our lead architect, Jay Williams, our landscape architect and one of our lead site designers, who will walk through the site. We have some updated renderings. You asked for a 3D model, we have that to show you as well. And then of course we have some fun material boards to touch and feel and pass around too if you want.
Federico, over there, that outlet works fine behind there.
And we also have
No, I wouldn't mess with this, this is the computer.
someone who wasn't with us.
Federico, on your left is another outlet. This is where the computer comes in. I wouldn't mess with that one. Just right there.
Someone else who's with us that wasn't here last time, Jerry Nielsen, the current owner of the property, has owned, I won't say how long owned the property for, but owned it for a good amount of time. So with that, Jay and Federico, I think you guys can help walk through the presentation deck that we've put together here.
You just tell me next and I'll...
Yeah, next. Well, yeah, this, and this is a summary of where we are now towards, like, compared to where we were a month ago. So I think we are pretty happy with, it was a big effort trying to address all the comments. These are the main 5 moves. Building A, we basically changed the shape of Building A to make it more organic, to make it more like an open courtyard, to respond better to the site, kind of embracing the circle now. There were some significant changes on the clubhouse, especially in the architecture. Then one of the big concerns we all had was the length of Building B. So basically we created 2 sub-buildings with a kind of public plaza in the middle that breaks the buildings and has some nice public activities. We emphasized the uses on the parklet, on the community parklet. Now it has much more public uses. At the same time, we emphasized that all the buildings are responding to a space. Building C retracted a little bit more, with recess, so it enhances all the public space. And then we addressed the gateway element on number 5 on Heger Avenue. So the building is receiving you from Heger Avenue as you circulate. And there's, as you can see on the roof plan, there's much more articulation on the buildings and the roofs and the definitely, I would say it's architecture and placemaking. Next slide. So here's a before and after. This is the view that we started the presentation with, coming from Thorndale Circle. As you can see, the same clubhouse massing overall, but different architecture and a very stark difference with building A. This is a close-up. Same view. This is another close-up of building A, and you can see how it's much more.
This is at Hecker Avenue, right?
No,
This is
no,
at-
this is when you...
This is off of Post Road.
Yes,
we are-
yes.
It's got a little...
Right by the
key-
Nielsen's.
It's got a little key
Florist.
plan
Yeah.
and...
When you come in that
Yeah,
entrance.
you can see in there the black.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's Thorndale Circle.
Okay.
So it's almost tilting to the right,
Okay.
more or less on the same spot. And you can see the changes in the architecture. Now that we can talk about later in more detail. So next, this is a view of the clubhouse. So a lot of things change here. We think it's a little more coastal style now. The colors became clearer. We added this linear window pattern and the porch element. And we included the stone material. Here's another view from the swimming pool.
Okay.
Here's a view like towards building A, towards the entrance, getting a little bit more into the project, and we can see the two buildings together. By the way, there's a kind of a very subtle pattern in the colors. So basically, we studied the area, we studied basically Hecker Avenue, all the houses, and we detected more or less 4 color schemes that are from this area. So basically now the buildings start with a off-white tone and then migrate slowly to a more warm tone. So now we have like seven different color schemes. So here's like lane A. Here we're seeing building B transform. So basically now we're seeing 2 different building Bs of B1, B2 that are connected or separated by this plaza. You see on the background on the left, that's the second component. So here's the space.
Yeah, again, I'm Jason Williams from SLR Consulting. If we go back one, so if we're moving down the corridor here with building B on the right, building C on the left, we have our focal point that we talked about at our last meeting, the park at the end of this corridor. We've added an outdoor sculpture, large outdoor public type sculpture in that park. So as you're kind of moving down this corridor and you've got these 2 building walls on each side, next slide please, you come to this break in building B and this small courtyard space, next slide. Here you can see before and after, pretty drastic. Next slide. So I think what's really important in this is previously we had parallel parking right up along the street. Now we've removed parallel parking and created this beautiful bed, this vegetated buffer between the roadway and this plaza space. Low bush blueberry ground cover with elm trees anchor both sides of the plaza. Granite bollards protect pedestrians or create that slight sense of visual separation. Paver plaza with wood benches placed throughout, and this nice alley of columnar European hornbeam trees, and then a central water feature. It's another view just looking into this courtyard. Looking back, building A on the building B on the left, building C on the right.
So here in this before and after, looking towards Thorndale and building A, you can see how the architecture now is much more noticeable at the end of the perspective. Here's a close-up, that same view.
We talked last time about this park, essentially, this eco park that we're creating within the project, and I think there was a lot of talk within kind of this wraparound area, vehicular roadway, creating a level of placemaking. And so what we've done is we've removed 90-degree parking that was really jutting into the park, and added a plaza that kind of dissects our walkway here. The plaza has bike area for bike racks on it, and then this is a dense grove of service barrier, Amelanchier, underplanted with sweet fern that jumps over to the other side of the roadway here. So as you're coming from Hecker, you're kind of moving through this canopy with views looking underneath the multi-stem amelanchiers into the park and into this plaza feature. Here's our sculpture as well.
Right.
The sculpture centered on that corridor I mentioned before. Here's a view of the park looking down the corridor, building B, building C, our park feature before, but much more placemaking now with the introduction of that plaza.
Where's your sculpture?
It's not in this.
Still being designed.
Being interested in the following.
Quick question, did you call out cultivars on the dogwoods things? It's the time of the year that everything looks terrible. And,
Did I call out? I could go check real quick.
okay,
I think just straight Cornice, Florida.
okay, you wouldn't look at like the Rutgers bridal or any of those?
The Rutgers is a cross with Coosa, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and so we're trying to create all natural.
you're trying to do all
EPC
native,
was like,
yes.
don't you dare put a cultivar in this area.
okay,
This is all indigenous plantings then.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
all,
I like that.
it's all native.
Yeah.
Next.
Before and after of, it's a big contrast here, having this park space in here. You can see umbrellas, outdoor seating, the bike racks. While we don't show these amelanchiers over here, you're really eventually gonna go through a nice tunnel here with the texture here, permeable paver parking spaces, and just eliminating those parking spaces. Low bush blueberry and the Comptonia peregrine sweet fern, which is an evergreen shrub that kind of looks like a fern. It's really gonna be spectacular.
And really what you saw in the before and after there too, and Federico can speak more to this, really a lightened color palette and a roof articulation that we think helps, complements the landscaping work that Jay has done, helps to create one of those moments that we talked about a couple of weeks ago as you're looking down the drive on Hecker Avenue. Next slide. Okay. Next one.
The other side.
This is looking south down towards Hecker Avenue. Federico, if you want to talk about these buildings.
Yeah, these buildings, they all have slight different variations. These colors are becoming more warm, but basically they have a common language, but they have different variations to articulate the space, we think. Much better than before. This is like the gateway, the entrance from Hecker Avenue. So we have this element that is rotating parallel to the street entrance, announcing itself.
Can I ask you here, pausers again, how come you guys didn't think about putting the house, the common house here at the entrance, something that's more residential based at this entrance? What was the thought process?
The clubhouse is like an attraction if you think it about like a placemaking scheme. We have the park, we have the clubhouse. It's not exactly at the entrance, it's a little bit in. It's directly, you can visualize it from Thornhill Circle at the end of the perspective. So that's one reason. The other reason is the geometry of the site that is very complex and constrained in a way. It's very dictated by the constraints we have on the side, by the parking sizes, so we maximize it to the inch of how we could maximize the nice effect of being on a pedestrian street and try to hide parking. So somehow the clubhouse ended up being also at the bottleneck of the site in a way. It's the smallest building, and it's basically where we could fit it, but we think it's also good, not necessary to have it at the entrance, because somehow you're creating this entrance sequence, and then somehow you have this attraction here, this attraction there. You have some kind of itinerary that I think it makes it more interesting.
And also, noise. Having it away from Hecker Avenue, we thought was better to have, pool towards the car dealership and the commercial activity rather than some of the neighbors who were here
Well,
earlier.
what about like that building at the end there? So like, we talked about like, I know you changed that building at the sight line. Like the clubhouse, I think, is one of your strongest architectural elements. And like, that would be an amazing feature to see at the end of this alley you're creating.
I actually think there's opportunity, so first of all, I want to thank you for the changes that you made, because I wasn't here, I did provide some feedback, so I'm happy to see that you guys listened, thank you. I do have some comments though that I think may help address perhaps what you're concerned about, sort of making a statement at sort of the gateway to the entrance, and that is perhaps looking at how do you treat the base of that key entry building, right? So you've got stone, I don't know if it's
It's on the other building, I think.
but perhaps there's a level, maybe it's raised to a different height, right? So that it feels like you're entering onto a place, right? And then connecting it back to that clubhouse, which has some of that stone feature and element. And provide a little bit more differentiation to the residential buildings. They all seem very massive.
Yeah, I'm seeing like that one, and then the one at the end is essentially the same building.
Exactly. And so I wonder if there's an opportunity to sort of reduce that scale a little bit by changing out the materials to create that interest and to say, this is the beginning of an interesting pathway around the development. But just a suggestion. It feels big.
This one is a 3-bay version. The back one is a 5-bay version. I mean, I'm talking about bays.
Oh, yeah.
And then the one that's on the side of this one here is 4. And I think there's another one. So depending on how many bays you get a proportion that becomes more and more wide.
Yeah.
And my only personal opinion is I think the 3-bay has a nice proportion when the 5-bay starts to be
You squat.
really squat.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna see later, we took some cues on the shingle style. We were very intrigued by, it's one of the first American styles, and it's very related to the East Coast. So we kind of use those pieces, and we saw some, you're gonna see later in the slides, there are some examples where these gables were exaggerated, and they were kind of very horizontal. So we thought it was a nice play to pay homage to this style.
I think if it's a standalone building, yes, but you've got it attached to a bunch of other buildings, and so it just feels like it keeps going. I think you're going in the right direction, and so I don't want to discourage you. I just think that there could be a little bit more articulation. Yeah, like that one, right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a standalone house.
But it also has a facade it's not flat.
Exactly.
It's got bays, it's got, it's got reduction, it's got addition.
Yep.
Whereas I think if we go back to that view that we're looking at, it's a flat facade. And I think maybe at the entry, as you're going in, that's maybe neutral enough, but your focal point, I'm thinking back to that image of I forgot the architect on that house, but where it has a lot more articulation to it, that does, I think, enhance the placemaking and the focal point aspect of it. Right now, that is just a very flat facade to me. I'm a little concerned that it feels very massive.
Can you go back to your reference images that you had up?
Yeah.
That you were looking at shingle style was. There are two in the middle. The two in the middle are my opinion that I think we're not wanting that massive look.
No.
So the Willimantic and the 1001 Post Road are not, I think are not what we're leaning towards. I would take those, not those two.
Those examples are there because it was the only building that has a similar scale, and we think that there's some pieces of that. When you see I agree, with the photo in the middle, it's a little bit relentless, and there's like this horizontal line.
Yeah.
I don't think we tried to do that, because we didn't do that, but there's some elements in the simplicity that pavilion, entrance pavilion that has some nice moves. It's contemporary but traditional. But it's especially the scale, because all these are houses, and we are doing a multifamily residential building, 7 buildings. So it's how do we translate? We're not copying like textbook. We're trying to adapt and make our own.
But there's an opportunity for you to do a little bit more push and pull, right, to what Dave was talking about, to create a little bit more shade and shadow on it. And I know it's a tough thing to do when you're trying to fit in a whole bunch of apartments into it. Been there, done that. But I think it's worth a try to look at it a little bit more closely to break down that flatness and that massiveness on it.
So I think one of the things, and Jay, you can probably speak better to this than I can, if we go back to, why don't we go back to the before and after of building being the parklet, or eco park, I should say, as back. I think this is a good image. One of the things that limits us in terms of how much we can, have projections out, we have to maintain certain roadway widths for, I know this is the Architectural Review Board, but this is a challenging site Jay alluded to before. One of the challenges is we need to make Mr. Bush happy down the hall in terms of making sure his fire truck can get through the site adequately, making sure we have enough room for that safety issue. So that kind of limits our ability to maybe provide as much of that facade articulation on one side.
You may not have to move the building, but you can certainly do stuff with the windows.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, and you were doing it in the
And there's some
original.
subtractive
Yeah,
moves you can
exactly.
make. We're not saying add something out from it,
Right.
but maybe you recess something in. I mean, I know that cuts into square footage and all that, but I think in terms of, giving it a little bit more texture. And just some, again, to break down that massing some, and I think, and I agree, I'm in agreement that it's come a long way. I think you're in the right direction here, but that facade to me is rather imposing.
This gets also pretty high in relationship to our height regulation.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
maybe
that's
is
a-
dictating
that's
the kind of the
merging these
squatness
two
of that roof.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's-
could those roof eaves could you even increase the pitch and have it come down into the next
we
story?
can have a
and some-
lower.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
can have it
have some
lower.
spring points in the, so it seems to me like that upper floor, you're going to just flat ceilings, is there any opportunity to have some sloped ceilings, with
On
a
the inside.
reasonable spring point in those apartments? So that way you can maybe get a little bit more pitch on the roof, or, like with some of those bays or something, they can cut in a little bit more. If you, and again, I know it's very difficult because it seems rather additive to some of the roofs that are put on these very large masses to try to break that scale down, but I think further breaking that scale down is actually carving in a little bit too. Right now, it seems just applied.
Yeah, in this case, it was deliberate because we wanted a strong focal point.
Mhm.
It was 3
Well,
days, it
and I
wasn't,
think you're-
and
yeah.
I think it worked. And maybe we can go to the elevation. We can see. I don't know how much we definitely can do explore those ideas, but we think they are pretty articulated facades. We're projecting base are 4 feet deep. So when you're on the street, you don't see a flat elevation. Maybe we can go to the. But yes.
Somewhat disagree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I don't agree either.
Again, you have, you've got like a colonnade on the bottom, but again, it's a very flat wall.
All the windows are lined up perfectly, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's-
almost like that Willimantic view.
Well, that comes a little bit from the style. I mean, some of those precedents are flat and some are deep, as you notice, but the horizontality is basically of this style. It's kind of.
They're all lined up. With the double hung windows at the top that isn't the top floor, with the square windows, it all goes around in a perfect alignment. We really want to see it more broken down, as if these are individual houses that happen
But
along the
that's
way.
not,
Yeah.
honestly, it's not what we are trying to do, because first of all, it doesn't reflect the program. We are building seven residential buildings, that's our program. We don't wanna pretend to not be something that, and it's, look at, I mean, we have 7 different facades, put a lot of effort to create differentiation. These buildings, we think we are trying, but we're not trying to break them up in townhouse. It wasn't never our idea. We think it's more honest to go and say, okay, these are our buildings, and they are very articulated and have deep recesses on the entrance. We can keep on working, but it wasn't the intent, because otherwise you start differently. If you start dividing this in, like, how many townhouses do we need to here every 30 feet?
You don't have to make it a townhouse, it looks massive from this view. If you put that other center picture that we all decided was way too big and too imposing, it's very similar in the way it all runs around in a continuous band from building to building. And if that was your intention, okay. Personally, I think I would like to see something different. I don't love the way it is all one band all around on several levels. I don't think that's what Darien is in a town. It evolved over time, and that's more the New England kind of style. New England kind of style is not a massive imposition of buildings, I don't think. But you know, I'm only one voice on the board, and that's, you know.
It's not, yeah, I don't, yeah.
It's partition walls,
it's very
every 3 windows.
I think
Are
what-
the units like so systematically the same size? Like you have 1 unit, then 3 windows later, there's a sheetrock wall, and then another one here, so that you really have this vertical construction system that really will work with these, or do you have a variation where one of the apartment at the top has 4 windows, and the next one has 2, and the next one has 3? How does the floor plan work in relationship?
Yeah, we can make it work. You can create enough post to have a wall, but against a solid, you can. It's an architectural statement. We can reduce the amount of windows we want to. We went purposely with this layout. We say, okay, these are relative buildings. They're tied up together buildings. They're trying to be different, but not very different. We're playing with that idea. It's, in that sense, I think, yeah, we can create more variation, but up to what point? How many different buildings? I mean, maybe that's something I should discuss, because
I guess, I know it's a very challenging project, and I totally appreciate everything that you've done. I'm wondering, you know, from a scale standpoint, because they are all 3-story buildings, and you've taken it pretty far in terms of breaking down the massing and stuff, but still, ultimately, it's all like, if you can go back a few, again, I keep kind of going back to those bays.
Can we
like
go down the Long Avenue?
Yeah, one more, I think.
Go
or-
another one.
That one. Oops, stop.
Sorry, that, still that one?
No,
Keep
go ahead.
forward again, please.
Well, I'm going back and forth, so if I'm not.
That one.
going in-
That
Oh,
one.
that one, okay, that one.
Again, it's again, all the same height. It's like, you know, there's a roof and then a flat roof and then a shed roof. There's a nice rhythm in those bays, but I would almost say have the same roof on all 3. And again, I don't want to design this for you, but my sense is that because those bays are traveling at the same height in terms of the spring point of the roofs and the eave line, you know, is there something in the, you know, the z-axis that could happen with those, like dropping those roofs in, or you know, dropping the eave down or something like that. But it seems like just in this particular example that you've tried 3 different things, and I think, you know, well, in one hand we're saying it's like, oh, it's too, you know, the windows are too repetitious. In this case, I think having that petition would make that a stronger pathway. It would give you more of a sense of travel through there. So that's, again, there's 6 buildings, how many? I mean, it would be easy to go through and like pick them all apart, but this, I'm just citing this as an example.
Yeah,
It's just something
could
to think
be. I
about.
mean, we went back and forth the repetition. This was building that was the most successful, I think, in the previous because it's just relatively short. I agree with you. I don't mind repetition, especially when it's 2-3 bays.
Balance,
because,
emphasis, and rhythm.
Yeah.
So I think
You
some
understand the
rhythm was
building.
lost by changing the roof types.
Yes,
on
I
the
agree.
base.
Maybe they were all the same. I think on the entrance we wanted to highlight the entrance, but they could be.
Highlight the entrance to that building with that pitched roof. I don't think as a pedestrian, you're gonna pick up on that necessarily. You're gonna pick up on what's happening at eye level, right? And so awning, entry, that is what's gonna feel more like the entrance. I understand stepping back and looking at the whole thing, that would be the entrance, but I think as a user, as a resident,
Maybe it's that variation in material with stone and brick at the
Precisely.
entrances.
Yeah.
So like
Precisely.
you get the message
It's a
when
stone
you're
base,
at a
right.
stone area that
Yeah.
has a different roof treatment like
Exact-
the clubhouse.
exactly.
Then you get that recall
Yep.
of a special message. Add one more thing, to use a highly referenced architecture, the Avalon has top floors that allow higher ceiling and taller windows, which is a tool that a lot of developers use. It brings extra money, there's more light in the apartments. Now, all of your upper floor has the same, pretty much the same flat ceiling at this point. So I don't know if there is anything to be explored with some additional play as the members of the board were talking about, but just to break the z-axis a little bit more.
Datum.
Instead of a band or window, you just could have some expression where you start breaking the mass a bit with extra height and the apartments. Just a thought. It's different than what you have, but maybe in some very specific location.
Yeah, I think it gets to that, is there like that carving in? You're not gonna be able to project out, but is there any way to carve in and still maintain your square footage, but make those top floors, it all gets into those top floors and those roof lines, being able to drop those roof lines a little bit more, just to bring that scale down.
And the whole development is based on no balconies, right? I mean,
No, yeah, we do have balconies. Yeah, we can
Not
look at.
on this.
The majority of the balconies are towards the rear,
The back.
away from the main street.
Towards the north on 90.
No, in different directions, but if you see away from the main street, basically, to whatever is the facade that is not facing it.
Towards the parking area.
Yeah, the elevations might.
Actually, I have a question about the park, I'm sorry. I'm totally changing subjects here, but, so those 2 areas are essentially rain gardens, is that correct?
They're big stormwater quality basins.
Okay.
But throughout the
So
entire.
what is there like any field green space? I know there's the pool in that area, but like people walking their dogs or like wanna throw the ball or
No,
something.
yeah. So, in this area, this is actually stabilized lawn.
It looks like
Emergency
grass or
access, so
something.
it'll just be lawn.
Yeah.
We have a lawn seating area up here and another lawn seating area here. And then to the east of the clubhouse, we have a dog run, small, dog run, closed area for the dogs.
Can I make a comment to you guys? Can you go to R13, on here, Hervé, 13, go up, go on. Yours is different than mine.
I thought you were incredible.
I want to look at the, maybe go back to that park, but I want to look at the view from the park as you're overlooking the park at the buildings. Yeah, so you can go, yeah, they're perfect, this one, 19 here. The one building that's at that moment you've created, I love that you created a moment there, I think this is a really cool idea. That building to me feels like the windows or the glazing there in general feels like a missed opportunity. I would love to see some play there. I mean, you're creating this view over a park, that should be like a central glazing feature. I see all the windows the same here. I figured you guys just did that to just give us something before you played into any detail. I thought like that would come later. I'm kinda hoping you would play with different window articulation, depth, sills, style of window. I'm thinking that would come, maybe. But if not, then let's at least start here. I feel like there's a great place, instead of this another row of windows, it's like rows, rows, rows of all third-story windows, same type and everything, and I feel like opportunity could be there. Overlooking this beautiful park you've created moment. So that's my one comment there to consider. I'm not sure how apartments are broken up there, but. And then if you go back a couple screens, you take that long view down, down the main pathway down B, that one. I really like so much, take this with a grain of salt, because I like so much what you're doing here in this, but there are so many great elements of like, the colors you softened here, the moments creating landscaping, I actually like the parallel parking in relation to pedestrians being there. I love the moment you created with building B. You're calling it a break, it's not really a technical break. It's an inlet in there, I think that's fantastic, and I just wish that moment of B was replicated like 3 more times on each side here. And I'll tell you, I was walking down in Darien Commons today, and not to take away from architecture there was a style, design, a thing, a look that went there, and they executed what they promised, and it's successful in its own right, but going down there, I cannot tell you how it just does not feel like a place I want to make again in Darien. We've approved that, and I think it every time I walk in there, I think we made a mistake by letting that scale go and not stopping and making some of these entrances feel two-story. And no matter what we do, to Alex's point, what we do on this first level to create a pedestrian relationship with awnings and materials, I think it's still going to be lost if we have a 3-story scape all the way down that's going over 300 entrances, unless we somehow make it feel, with playing with the plane of making that feel like 2 stories, and only doing 3-foot breaks where we're going in 3 feet, out 3, doesn't do it, because we did that at Commons, and it's such a large height scale that 3 feet
These are 5.
recess.
Right? The big projections are 5
That's
feet.
better.
They're real.
I don't think it does it, and I know we're gonna push and
Because your sidewalk is
shove.
so close to the building, that's why you feel like you're
Yeah.
up against a tall thing.
And I know this is where we're gonna fight, because you guys are you said it a second ago when you started, you said, we've maximized, quote, 2 an inch. That's what your goal has been here, and.
It's sometimes designed by parking. It's like
Yeah.
we need to comply. It's 175 units, which is not the maximum density
Yeah.
that some people have proposed for it. And we need to park it.
Yeah,
And we need to hide all the parking. And I think we did a pretty good job hiding
Yeah.
the big field of
Yeah.
parking. That's the only
is
thing. It's
very
not
true.
that we are trying to like.
yeah, but like I'm saying, there's so many good
I
things
would-
you've done
I would-
here, so the one thing that I struggle with is I don't know how I'm gonna ever get past approving this length without that 3-story being broken down, or true breaks in building. To your point, like, you've created New England without creating it, because New England is a lifestyle that's created over time, and each building has its own style because it's created, months of apart of each other, and I'm going to keep struggling with this, no matter how many other great things you've done, and there are a lot of great things you guys have done here, so I'll stop there.
No, and don't let me interrupt you, please. What I wanted to say to that point specifically, one of the things that really keeps us, and I'm sorry I might have missed portions of the comments, but breaking building B up further, the fact of the matter is what's preventing us from being able to do that is the fact that anything where this blue arrow is, and again, Jay can speak better to this as the environmental person on the team, it is effectively off limits. So when we're talking about, well, can we break up building B? If we didn't have the Stony Brook as our neighbor, maybe we could break up building B more. But what we've tried to do, not what we've tried, what we have done, is worked with what nature has given us on this site.
I'm not saying move the building, you know that.
No, I know that, but I'm saying why we can't break it up any further, because we have looked critically at every single way to not just initially design this thing, but redesign this thing per all the feedback that we've received.
The break would actually be like stopping the building, you wouldn't change the footprint
You would
at
lose
all.
apartments.
You'd have to lose a part.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly, there's no.
It can be done.
No, exactly, no, so we're dancing around the idea, let's just say that. You can't do it because you don't wanna give up apartments, but I'm gonna pitch to you here this is gonna kill, I don't know how, like, this is your ultimate task of how you're gonna create the illusion that this is much smaller without losing apartments.
Yeah.
Unless you guys come back and say, okay, we've taken away 20 apartments here and look at this depth we created with
Yeah.
it. Like, we created these buildings, that's awesome. You've created this a couple more times.
Yeah.
Cause this is great, this is cool, and you put
Yeah, it's
different
cool, but
material.
how many of those parts you can have on 280?
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
we thought, we brought 260 feet long block, that is a relatively long.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on what context, no? I mean, we put a parklet in the middle, 140 feet, that parklet is 36 by 36, is a pretty decent. 140 feet, two relatively small buildings. When you see the facades, they're not gigantic buildings at this point. And how many of those parklets make sense also? We have Thornhill Circle, then we have the clubhouse that has a lot of activities. Then you see the big park, you have this parklet in the middle of the long block. And then you don't have a long block anymore. It's like, you cannot have those parklets every 30 feet because they're gonna lose, like there's a minimum distance that they make sense.
Can I ask a question? Did you guys bring a model?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a model, the
Maybe
facade.
load that up so that we can do a
Yeah, we
like a
can.
pedestrian walkthrough?
Yeah.
I think that may help us.
It's very difficult with these renderings to really understand what's going on here. But if you look at this gentleman right here, or let's say her, for her to get to the courtyard in Building B, she's walking by 2 parallel parking spaces. She's doing essentially 6 to 7 spaces. She's walking from this TV to that wall. That's not a lot of movement for a pedestrian, especially in a residential environment. What you're having a tough time with is this space here. All of this space and all of this space here. If we could get rid of the parking and have tree canopy, tree canopy, tree canopy, then both of the pedestrians have a ceiling that they're walking under. And then with a little bit of change, I mean, again, we're not even showing the landscaping along the building, that's just lawn. So you're walking, you've got a canopy, you've got vegetation on your side, you've got the stone, you've got the texture of the building, and obviously you're not looking at any of this up here. I think that's, you know, that's pretty much reality. You're not gonna be, what, you know, it
I'm
looks a
laughing at you
lot
saying
longer
you're
than
not
this.
having to look at anything up here, that's just funny to me.
No, you're not, subconsciously you'll notice it, but
Winter time.
you're not standing there trying to look through the foliage.
If you hide enough, you won't have to see it.
No, but, I mean, nice cities, that's what they have, that's the difference. Sometimes it's just the trees. Sometimes it's just the trees, and we might have missed a couple of trees here.
You did.
Yeah, so we're not helping ourselves here, unfortunately. But we have the model, and we have, I would like to quickly go through the facades because honestly, they don't look too long or too monolithic or.
Why don't you load it up, Federico?
We can show the facades.
Are they on there?
They're towards the
Yeah.
end.
And it's not that.
Yeah.
You're absolutely here, right?
You have to plug it in right here, Federico.
Is it different than the
General
boards?
facade or the board? It's the same as the board.
No, those are the same as the boards.
Oh, okay.
Those are in detail, and then we have the overall
Yeah,
facade. Here you
those,
can see the facade,
Yes.
so they're not
It's gonna be a ribbon of business.
humongous buildings.
No,
They're very
I think,
articulated.
well, Federico, while you're uploading the 3D model, I think something that I would respectfully push back on is the idea that this is overbearing in terms of what is achievable at this site. I mean, if you read the story in the Darien Times last week, we know that this is not overbearing for what the market would see on this site, what other developers would bring to the town. That's not what Trammell Crow is doing here. That's not what Trammell Crow is proposing. Mr. Nielsen can speak to it better than me, but I think there were multiple proposals for this site that were not south of 200 apartments.
Jay, I want you to think that we're like criticizing, we think
No,
you guys
no.
are overdeveloping.
No,
We're not criticizing that, and that's also not what our purview anyway is.
No, no, no,
We're
and
just
I know-
talking about the appearance and the massing,
No.
how it appears.
I understand that, but I think when folks hear this out there, it's important for them to understand that too. When you look at things in terms of total coverage and building coverage and impervious coverage together, This is not a cheap to jowl, maximum pavement, maximum building. This is underdeveloped by tens of thousands of square feet. And I think the other thing too to keep in mind, I mean, we're proud of this project. We think that, we know that people that live here are gonna love it. But most of the people, particularly Building B, for example, that we're spending a lot of time on, I don't know how many, I forget the exact number of unit count, but not many people in town are gonna see Building B, right? This site, a majority of this site, Building B in particular, is shielded by the police station, the library, the florist, traffic on the Post Road, 3 and 6 Thorndale, those 2 buildings that are remaining, medical office space, these buildings right here. I mean, Building B, for all intents and purposes, may be one of the more invisible parts of this project. So I understand, we're hearing you, we've been very responsive to the comments we received, but I just want to provide that context to the discussion. So, Federico.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can quickly flip over the elevations and then we can go to the model and go wherever you guys want to go.
I have a question. Looking at the elevations, is the floor to ceiling height the same on all 3 floors?
Yeah.
Because I think if you had, if you had more of a base that maybe was like a little higher and had a more residential kind of proportion, and then like the 2nd and 3rd floors, maybe even the windows looking a little smaller, I think the buildings would be stronger. Because I think it kind of doesn't read with a strong base. I think the proportions look a little off.
Yeah, so that might be a function, yeah.
35 to the flat roof.
The challenges with the height regulation in this zone, the highest we can go up is 35 feet, and there's so much rock in this site, we can't.
But maybe
No,
it's just
you're talking about the expression, I
maybe
understand.
like visually.
Let me, to be honest, we tried all the options. We tried 1-story base, 2-story, we tried 2-story base on top. 3-story buildings are not very tall buildings per se. I mean, that's like base mill on top, you have 3 floors only. It's like, yeah, we all like base mill on top, but in 3-story buildings, and especially these elements that, basically, if you see, we have the background elements that have siding and the foreground elements that use shake or shingle. I mean, you can see it clearly here. In these elements, when you cap them here and you put another material, they start losing the strength of this element coming all the way down. And that's why the bays are too small. It's not that we didn't try it, but, and sometimes you might have the same effect we had in that present that we didn't like. That building had a continuous base, and then suddenly you start having a horizontal that you don't even want, like this element is nice, like it comes all the way down. I don't know if you wanna break it
You do have a strong
horizontally.
horizontal with the windows on the 3rd floor. I mean, that's a pretty strong horizontal.
There are elements there in there that are kind of interesting.
Yep,
Like
yep.
this
Yeah.
part here,
Yep.
or even just the top part of this, that, maybe not.
Those are that's a real
The
elevation.
play with the 3 and the 2 and the difference in the light, that kind of creates elements that are
Where's
kind of fun.
Elevation 3, the southwest.
That's facing, where's
That's-
what's this facing?
that's-
The parking lot, right?
No, that's facing the circle. The thing is, because it's the angles, it's difficult to understand.
Federico, can you put the 3D?
Yeah, we can put the 3D.
Yeah, I mean, what building A we've done a great job of, I think, is how it hugs the cul-de-sac there. I think that's a really cool feature. If you want to run through these a little bit more.
If that one.
Yeah, just like here, you can see a comparison of building B before and after.
Yeah, so this is the before. You load it up, Federico. Please load up the 3D image.
Can I show the,
Sure.
like, this is the building. It's like A, B, 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 end of the building. It's not super long. This building, yeah, maybe this element is strong, but it reads well from the entrance, from Hecker. And then 3 bays, and
No one's ever gonna see the
They're gonna see
building
it.
like this.
You can't
Like
see
you
it.
don't have
But they're gonna
view
see
of it.
that and from the distance, from
You
Hecker.
cannot have
Yes,
this
it's
perception.
easy.
You can't see that. Only the architect.
I cannot believe.
oh, but it's you basically are asked to do the elevations, and if we show the perspectives, they tell us, show me the elevation. Like I mean, you have to do both, right?
Right, right.
You have a plug in there?
Yeah, plug it in.
Okay, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, is there
Here's
any traffic
HDM1.
study
The
done?
technology.
It's gonna be 200 cars, traffic study. How are all these cars coming and going?
That's being reviewed by the P and Z Commission.
Is
as far as
there a
the
way you can
traffic or-
switch
Yep, yeah, by the P and Z and
the
the Police
input
Commission.
in
And there's
your
no traffic.
device?
That is beyond my knowledge. So it's probably gonna have to be on your machine, not mine, because I have no control
control.
over this. No. I mean, I don't even have a mouse, so this is on HDM1.
Yeah, so you gotta go to source and look for HTML. And when would you suggest something that you're,
You can also put the computer in front of them and do the.
Yeah, worst case scenario.
It'd be nice if it was on this screen, but it's not always the easiest thing to do.
So what you find it here?
I just know on our office computer, you gotta find the source. So it might be in settings, it looks like you're on the right path, but. I know.
Bluetooth and devices, printers, mobile cameras, touchpad. Something, if you, can you change it there to HDMI?
Well, it is on HDMI1.
It's on
Try
one.
it in two.
Right.
You want me to put it in?
It's doing
two?
something. Yeah, there we go. Great.
Maybe it was just a loose plug.
Let's see if I can do. I'll give you guys the nice image.
Very tall man still there.
It's not that tall. I was looking at it today. Let me go closer. Sorry, the computer is reloading. It's a very large file.
Yes.
Is this Revit? or-
It's SketchUp and Enscape, so it's kind of a rendering.
No, Enscape eats a whole lot.
Yeah, and it's a pretty large file, so let's pray that it's not gonna handle me. So typically I navigate with a small.
What's your what to tell?
There we go.
What do you guys wanna?
Let's,
Let's-
let's go down like as if we're driving in
Okay.
with the focal point of the building gate.
To get rid of the box. All right, there he goes. There's even wind, that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's what's using up all the processing is the wind.
So that's the entrance. Alex, I liked your idea about columns there and brick there, or like, everybody and I talked about like even white siding there on the columns to break it, make it seem like a different entrance, so you know.
I think just saying, I've arrived.
Yeah,
I mean, you're doing it on the other side.
yeah, there should
With
be something.
with the clubhouse.
Okay.
Can you,
Well, close to
can you
Sorry.
get
Black.
the view,
It's a little bit-
so you're like a 6 foot, the eye level?
I love
I
it.
think that helps a lot in walking, like imagine, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have my usual tool. I usually have two
Yeah,
monitors so I can walk more
We're still
logically.
flying through the trees.
So I'm doing it a little bit.
I think the point you were trying to make around the tree canopy and that experience next to a building would be helpful for this group to see as you're walking past the buildings. So if you,
One question I had that I don't think we have addressed is if we were in England, the ground floor apartments would have their little private garden, even if it's a strip of 5 feet. in front of the apartment. And right now, from what the views we've seen, it seems like all of the landscaping is common or public on each side. So we have a sidewalk and then you have some planting, but there's nothing that gives an edge or, there's no in and out.
Yeah, because the landscaping is a part of the entire building. It's not focused on just units.
Okay.
That would look crazy. I mean, because looking, you'd say, oh, there's roses, oh, nepeta, it would just be
Right.
confusing.
So none of these ground floor apartments have a way to
They-
get in and out,
access to
except
They
for
have
the side door,
stoops,
right?
some units have stoops, like you're seeing here.
That's a bench.
So it's an entrance.
So Federico, walking through this, I don't mind, again, the massing as much personally, this of the first two buildings. And I think because just the way it comes in with the trees, the entrance, the angle of the building, the massing that I just really can't get over is the extension of building B, that longer alleyway. I don't mind as much, it's, that just one area sits with me. And then beyond that, like the repetitive third story horizontal window and the use of the same type of window throughout the whole complex is another point that needs to be revisited in my mind. But this is the scape that, the other parts are, I think the recessions are strong there, like the relation to the pedestrian, the parking, it all seems to work, in my opinion.
Is the landscaping accurate?
No, it's not accurate. It would take there's a lot of landscaping in this project. It would take so much work to get all of, but the main components are in here.
Okay.
The foundation plantings are not in.
The trees, the number of
The trees are.
are all accurate.
He's inside the building.
The hornbeams are.
The hornbeams are, and the elms.
Quick question on, so building B, that's a brick facade recessed in there?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the only brick facade? That's the only one I recall seeing.
We are using brick to
At that
articulate the base, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the,
It's right there,
Materials.
it's a
One
picture
of-
behind
they all have,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so you
Some
got stone
have-
base on some.
yeah, correct. The warmer ones use
Okay.
this lime washed brick that we have somewhere in here.
Okay,
I like it.
then
Yeah.
another brick.
Yeah.
But just the fact that that goes up the entire facade, that's not happening anywhere else. It's typically more of a base, it's only where that park
Yeah,
element is happening.
yeah, which is an entrance too.
So the entrances on the other buildings, are those,
They have these
Being-
gables.
the gables are
Mhm.
primarily entrances, just because this is inserted at the,
Yeah,
And the
it's
midpoint
it's
of
the
this one.
midpoint,
Okay.
correct, because it's still a single building with a single elevator. It's about 55 units,
okay.
but obviously we broke it out into different buildings.
That's the nice thing about it. I
Let's
mean, that's,
building
get some
from.
Does the site go like this?
No, that's kind of
A glitch in the.
yeah, modeling. It's gonna be flat.
What's the pruning plan on these trees?
We have, we developed an entire landscape maintenance and management plan.
Yeah, I saw that you, the reason why I ask is there's a lot of I've noticed a lot of, honey locust being planted in town and even an occasional oak and, then I see it and it's routinely being pruned down to about 12 to 14 feet.
That's awful.
So.
No honey locusts are on this site.
Yeah.
And the plan is let it grow.
Yeah.
When it's going towards a building, slightly manage it.
Yes, okay. I wasn't sure if you were gonna try to keep them small.
No, no.
Also, shows the gable very strong, is this, the very strong overhang, it's quite deep.
So Liz, he's backing out from the two buildings.
I like to sit on the tree.
Are the building designations
Get me a letter.
I think the signage on the building.
Signage are
Placeholder
placeholder now.
No, I don't think so. No, no
Well,
signage yet.
right
No.
now it has that.
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's not,
Well, that view too, the bays there, I don't know, again, I don't know. The windows, I feel like if there's something you can do with the windows that,
The third floor windows or just in
Yeah.
general?
It can be beautiful, those units, with all those,
I-
all that glass.
From
I
the-
love the amount of glazing,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I just, yeah, I don't,
A lot of energy usage.
What's happening at the ground floor?
Maybe.
There is it all opaque, is that a lobby entrance or?
Yeah, that building has, we open more entrances to the building, so we have 3 on the main street, 1 on the garage side.
So what this isn't showing is, just like in the courtyard, we've got a different paving pattern that's coming out kind of into the public realm. The same will apply at the entrances. So when you're walking across the sidewalks, you're crossing pavers.
I think the clubhouse is next too. There we go.
Mhm.
Clubhouse is there, yeah, on that side.
Yeah.
no, you're funny to me.
Everyone's laughing.
No, you're funny to me, you're not trying to be, you're just the edges, you're in a good way. It's nice to have you here, Jay. That's good, you have great comments. So this building, I think, by the way, in general, maybe let's stop here a second. I think it's overall, you guys did a really nice job on this building. I don't know if anyone has, we didn't comment on this, so I think we should stop a second.
I think this
Yeah.
is where I feel like you did the articulation and the push and pull
Yeah.
that I was hoping to see more of in the rest of the buildings.
Well said,
And
beautiful.
and so I'll stop it there.
That's very well said. That's very well said.
I think also the roof line on this side, able to get the steeper pitch gives it that,
Yeah.
it brings that,
Exactly.
that massing down.
Exactly.
But
Well,
I know.
the mass is a different typology
I know, so,
building,
yeah, the
like,
volumes
you
themselves
have
are
more
different.
freedom
Yep.
to break it
But
up more.
But Dave was
I agree.
suggesting sort of, and I would see if you can do it, bring that down a little bit, right?
What about-
On the third floor and see.
Like that third floor of the
Yeah,
clubhouse.
yeah,
there,
ex-
when you get
exactly.
roof engaged and the third floor,
Exactly,
that's like a dormer type.
Mhm.
yep,
so refreshing to see that.
Yeah.
I know it's more expensive to build that way.
Oh, of course.
yes.
Well, I think something else too, we noticed in other, in communities that have some club type building, that building is different from the residential buildings, right? It stands apart from the living space. And we looked to, I think, Craig and others on the team were involved in the European Yacht Club, some of you may have seen that, that was kind of what we
That was
looked
one of
at
the images.
for this building.
Such a good attorney.
Now that you mention it, it looks a lot like it.
So we've been at this an hour, so I think we need to kind of summarize this and give you guys some points to work with. I think actually finishing on this building, keep walking through this, Federico, that you're 3D model, that's nice to see, but finishing on that building might be a great place to stop, because what Ms. Lopatinsky said is like a great point. I think what we've been kind of dancing around all evening, which is the articulation and the scale and the give and take on this building, is what we would like to see translated to some of these other areas. And you guys have done great things. Jay, everything you're saying, like, I agree, I love what you're saying. So I don't mean, I'm laughing because I'm agreeing, I think it's good stuff. There's so many thoughtful, great things going on here, I just would like, I think.
Well, and right here, if you see, I mean, the two
Yeah.
contrasts of two
That's
styles
beautiful, that's a
is
beautiful
really nice. That's, just because you have 5 buildings doesn't mean you have to make them all the same. You can have 5 very large buildings with some different identities, just because typically I don't think you would just plop them in unless you're doing a planned city, which this is, if that's what your intention is, maybe that you got it then. But, I don't think we really want that.
No, we want a great variety, but
This looks great.
But it's a single
This looks
project.
right now.
Okay, yeah, well,
I think building off on those, and I was taking notes the whole time here too, what seemed to me the biggest comments that we received was really try and capture more of these moments that we've accomplished here. You know, try and do it on the west side of Building B, when you're looking north up Hecker Avenue. I think, Mrs. Geiger, you identified, I'll call it the western facade of Building C that looks out towards the park. That was a moment to look at, you know, what can we do with some interesting window variations and things of that nature. And, you know, identify those key view areas where we can build on the progress that we've made so far. I mean, I don't want to, you know, they're my client, I don't want to toot their own horn, but what I do have to say is that, you know, throughout the process, whether when it came to, you know, the EPC and how can you be as environmentally conscious as possible, when it came to some traffic comments, you know, how can you make this as safe as possible?
I mean, we have so much traffic,
And when I tell you that's solved at P&Z, I mean it, but I'm giving it as an example, and also a lot of the work that you saw here today. When Trammell Crow's been asked to deliver, they've delivered, and we will continue to do that. I think what we would ask, and we appreciate the feedback that you all have given us through this process. You know, I know sometimes you'll allow, you know, back and forth via email to get some sort of sign off on key view corridors. You know, we are maintaining a tight schedule with your friends up in the P&Z department and the P&Z commission. You know, we'd love to do that if that's not available.
No, I think you should absolutely work with, and Hervé is, don't let me speak for you, but he's available to always send ideas to, and be like, so you're not flushing out stuff and wasting any time. We don't need you guys spending any more of your money or time.
Well, I get what I'm asking.
We did have a very good work session. I think it was very enriching for all sides to try to, you know, me being the representative of the ARB in terms of the thoughts that are exchanged here and kind of relay some of them, and then, you know, the back and forth was very productive. I think to do this in a month is pretty amazing.
Oh, it's amazing.
Work.
Good job.
So that's because all the mind have gone together and very hard work on the architecture, designing, and landscaping design side. So, but there may be a need for another one. I mean, just kind of continue on that process to speed up the overall and just try to get to the next and maybe have that one be the closure.
Or you know what I was thinking. I know sometimes, you know, there'll be, hey, we make it's a recommendation of approve or deny. That's kind of the headline. You know, maybe there's a recommendation of approval to the P&Z commission with the request that they pay particular attention to these view elements that you all have identified here this evening. So, and again, I think the responsiveness that Trammell Crow has shown throughout this process guarantees that feedback will be responded to and be presented to your colleagues on the P&Z Commission.
I'm sorry, I'm not following exactly.
If you
like me to make a recommendation to P&Z of where you stand right now?
Yeah, to approve the design with attention to specific details. If that's something you're not comfortable with,
sorry, we're nowhere close to that, unfortunately. I think there's a lot more we want to see. I'm so sorry. That's not.
Okay, well, then I guess what we'd ask in the alternative, I know your next meeting is the 19th, that's the next night of a P&Z hearing, both start at 7 o'clock. If we can be with you all at 5 or 6 o'clock, I think that would help us meet the deadlines that we're trying to.
Yeah, that requires a special meeting for us too.
Well, it'd be the same night, the 19th.
No, but 7 and then you gotta pick up kids and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
we have a hard time changing, But people on this board all have jobs and it's a hard time to get, it struggles to get
I'm sure you do too.
But we do work with P&Z where we see multiple applications the same evening. So we could set up our schedule to where we see you for the first hour and then them, or you see them for the hour and they come to us. Depending on the agenda, we could absolutely do both. I mean, all our feedback, I copy the chairman of P&Z so he knows every step of the way what we're thinking here. He's aware of what our last meeting was and what these notes will go to him rather quickly.
What would you call that last view that was up? What, like?
The view into A, from building A to.
Is it A to?
Building A to the clubhouse.
Yeah. That's the Thorndale entrance.
Yeah, circle, like from the circle.
Federico, did you ever think about taking elements of the clubhouse and making that anchor side of B and making that almost look like its own building in itself, like a second? You know, the two parallel elements at the far ends, or did you deliberately want to keep? You want to keep the clubhouse its own element? Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's a beautiful articulation that could be really neat to see to anchor B along the park.
That was the original thought, was that the clubhouse have its own standalone design when compared to the other buildings.
So Ms. Janice just made a suggestion that could be helpful to you guys. She said that if we could approve all the material, that might help you guys in moving forward.
I think the
I like that.
palettes
I think
look
That
really
was
well
great.
thought through.
That was great.
Colors, materials, I think the board is in favor of what you guys are proposing there, which is great. I don't see any of the lighting scheme, or the material for the,
Good point.
canopies, thank you.
I think they're there. They're
Yeah.
the wood
Yeah.
look.
Is
Are
the
they,
wood-
but they're the wood look, they're not wood, they're like
No, no,
aluminum wood
they're-
painted.
Wood look.
They're fake wood, but aluminum metal. So they have this good imitation. So they basically, you don't need to maintain them, but they have the texture of.
Cool. So is that, Jay, is that helpful to choose materials, so
Yeah,
you guys
cool.
feel like we've accomplished
listen,
something here and your hard work is
I think we have, I
pays?
mean, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, I think we have accomplished something.
No, you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
did an amazing
yeah.
job, you've turned around in a month, like I'm
About the choice of plantings, the landscaping.
The plant-
you guys
these
have
two planting
done-
nerds started talking, and it was the funniest thing. I mean, I got lost within a minute.
Almost like being in a restaurant with the description of a very, very beautiful dish.
Yeah, it was. It's like, don't. Anya, do you have,
I will serve you the
That's
blueberries
it.
with the.
do you have feedback in the planting that, or can they move forward with?
I
What you
think
see?
the planting is gonna be unique, but I think it's great.
I think it's
So
fun.
we could get that.
I'd love to see that sculpture, and I'd be curious if you bring in a local artist to do the sculpture. I think that would probably be an important element that
100%.
town would be supportive of.
That would be
That'd be a
very
nice-
good.
Like on Darien Commons, they did a great thing, they brought in a local artist, you know that along the train station there's a bird display, it's like a moon and birds flying, it's done in silver, like a smashed metal.
Yep.
And it was a local artist that they found to do that, and that's been received really well,
Okay. Yeah.
neat element. Okay. Thank you. This was fun.
Back to your point about the lighting, I think that
Oh, yeah.
that was something that we all sort of missed, like, but that has become kind of, like, I'm thinking of Darien Commons, you know, there was a lot of back and forth on what those decisions were, so if there is gonna be another meeting, I think absolutely need to have some lighting concepts and just samples or images of what that'll be. You know.
So we saw the parking lighting.
Yes.
Oh, was that last time?
Street.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
sorry,
know.
I'm sorry, I missed the
It's,
last one.
it's in there, it's buried on some page on one of them.
We have a
I
light
do think
fixture,
though
so.
that, you know, there is maybe an interesting lighting scheme, maybe something a little different, maybe something with, that can patina with over time will add a little bit of that small New England vibe around all these windows. Like that might be an opportunity to have something a little bit more quaint. I think the parking itself, I mean, I thought they were kind of cool.
What?
The downlights.
It's all like dark sky.
Yeah, it was all dark sky.
Yeah.
I think that's required now.
And it's all 3,000.
Plug now, I think, right?
So, the lighting is so very simple, it's, we're using pole mounted lighting for the parking areas and the sidewalks,
Yeah, so that's
bollard
what
lighting
was
for the
represented there.
walkway of the park, and then mainly building mounted lighting for roadways that are behind the building, and then obviously sconces.
This might be the sconces might be an opportunity, especially at the entrances, to kind of give a little bit of weight and interest.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all it needs.
One of the things that we could do is we just have a typical powder coated aluminum pole. But what we could do is match the aluminum faux wood pole. Does that make sense? So instead of we do it a lot.
I thought you were gonna say we were gonna make it, you know, brass or bronze. I was
No.
gonna be really excited or copper.
No, instead of a wood post, it would be faux wood made out of aluminum.
I don't,
Not for,
that
not
goes
for,
up.
not for lighting.
No, and I think it would read a little bit too modern. It might be a moment where you actually kind of take a step back a little bit in time on that.
Like an old cast iron or wrought iron Yeah, just the, I guess the
Yes,
powder
just to
coating
kind
on
of
it.
like be a nod of a seafaring state, you know?
Yes,
Just
yes.
something to add a little bit, because I think, you know, so much of what we're reacting to here is, something really massive, and maybe something that's like a little bit more nuanced, tells a little bit of a story, and has some, you know, either patina or unique element to it, like maybe that's something that will, make it feel less massive, make it feel more residential.
Okay. I like that.
I like that too.
That would be nice.
You two should go get dinner or something and talk this nerd stuff. You guys could have a great fun time. Not a date, I'm just saying like fun stuff. You guys could have fun there. Okay, that's great. I will organize my notes, I will get them to make sure Steve Mulvaney, the P and Z chair, has those sooner than later, so that you guys don't be delayed. And I can put in our notes too that you have a favorable report so far on your material choices
And the landscaping too as well?
Yes.
Okay,
and the landscaping.
okay, that's great.
That's
Yeah.
very great, yeah.
Terrific.
Um,
And we'll be back next time to I think your point in the beginning of this meeting, we're getting more and more focused, so next time I think we can focus on these key issues for our discussion.
Okay.
Great.
Federico, great job.
Thank you.
This is amazing, absolutely amazing.
Oh, yours.
Yeah,
That was a lift in 1 month, that's pretty good.
that was a
Yeah,
huge.
I did not think that we would.
I'm impressed. You must have had 20 people working.
Someone's working
No
on
sleep. Well, we
Wait,
said,
yes,
just thinking the whole time.
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
it's true. Yeah, it's like, they're back in the agenda, that's gotta be a misprint, there's no way you guys are back in that, that was record setting. That's all. All right, last item on our agenda for the evening is, just a recap of the administrative approval certificates.
Yeah, only one was issued because the other two didn't submit anything. Giovanni's and Legal Martial Art were supposed to submit, did not.
Okay,
So Inspired Train Fit got their administrative certificate not too long ago.
okay, thank you, Hervé, for doing that. And then we have minutes approval for September, Hervé, I hope worked on them with Sherry, so, I'm approval of them, all in favor of those minutes? Any opposed? Great. It is 8:51 PM, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second. Third.
Good. All right, 8:51. 079, you can turn us off, thank you.